Okay, folks, welcome back again to Phatkat Collections. Doing 2 live feeds today. I was so excited to let you guys see that brand new Nubeo Tourbillon. I just want to do a quick unboxing of that. And then I wanted to kind of get to this topic today. And today we're going to be talking about Longines. I think I'm saying that right, but correct me. I know you will. The Longines watch brand. You think I would know how to say it, but I don't, because I don't freaking care. So I want to talk about this brand because this is a brand I've heard of by many watch snobs in the watch community. And they'll say things like, oh, if you want, when we're looking at brands like Invicta, oh, if you want a good watch, you need to get a Seiko. Or don't waste your money on that Nubeo or Invicta. You know, get a Seiko, get a Longines, get an Orient. And I hear these brands that do get respect from the watch community, right? And then they shit on brands like Invicta and the other brands, many other brands I reviewed. Invicta gets the brunt of it. So today, for the purpose of the video, I'm going to reference other brands, but I just wanted to kind of talk about Invicta specifically and why is it that we can rationalize brands like Longines, right? And we can say this is a great affordable watch, right? And we're going to talk about pricing on these things. And then we shit on other brands like Invicta. And so the reason I'm picking on this company is because they've been advertising lately on TV quite a bit. And just out of curiosity, I was like, let me go to their website and take a look at what they cost, right? I knew they were, more expensive than a lot of the watches that I tend to purchase and own. Not that I don't have more expensive watches, but I would never buy one of these watches, right? And a lot of times I would love to review one of these watches, but brands like this generally would not send me a watch to review because they know only 100%. I'm not going to say harsh because I'm sure I will pick up a watch by Longines and say, hey, this is a nice watch, right? This is a nice quality watch. But there is always going to be that price issue I have with brands like this. So let me just first start off with just giving you guys some prices here. So, for instance, I just went to Amazon and I'm just looking at, Amazon's going to pop up a lot of different watches, right? And so there's a lot of automatics here. And see if I can find the one I found earlier here. And the prices are all over the place. We have prices from 800, 1,000, 1,200, 1,700. And then, Amazon's going to mix in a lot of other watches. But let me see if I can find the one I was looking at earlier. Because this one just kind of, it did kind of shock me. Now, of course, I can't seem to find it, of course. That's usually the way it goes. Let me see if we can find this here. Because it was a brand new model, I believe. Oh, there it is. So it's from Joma Shops. I stand corrected. So here is just an example. Their Hydro. God, they always want to hit you with discounts. God, I don't want a discount. Amazon. So, all right. So this was called their Hydro Conquest. I'm looking at just a blue dial reference number or item number L3.740.4.96.6. And so this is, let me start with the price, $790. As always, I'll put links in the description. You want to pick it up by all means. But what do you get for $790? That, why is it a brand like this? Why is it okay to spend $790 on this and rationalize what a great quality watch is? And I'm not putting the watch down, right? But my issue is with the watch snob and what they determine as being worthy of spending money on. So why is this watch $790 and we compare this to just say a Duxo, an Invicta Pro Diver, or let's just go with the Invicta Hydromax that I did a review on the other day, right? Because I got the comments on that as well, right? So why is this watch worth $790 and we can rationalize spending that, but the Invicta at like $150 is a piece of garbage? Now, putting aside case size, dimensions, we're going to talk about raw, plain old, simple specs. So this watch is a friggin' quartz for $790. It's one thing for a brand to go ahead and list a watch like this and a seller to try to sell it for that price, right? I totally get it. There's a sucker born every minute. And there are people who find value in different price points, right? But what makes this watch worth $790 and the Invicta not worth $150? Why are Invicta owners, in the eyes of the watch snob, pissing their money away, going to consistently remain poor? How can we make the argument that this is the reason people are poor? I'm referencing one YouTuber because they're buying Invicta watches, but yet we can rationalize a watch by Longines for $790 and somehow we're not being poor. This watch is not going to appreciate with time, all right? And the argument a lot of folks make when it comes to watch collecting is that when you go with brands like Rolex, like Omega, and these higher end brands that you can always get your money back, they're going to appreciate, right? That's not the case. It's not true. It's all about supply and demand and what's readily available and how much demand there is for a product. So let's look at just plain specifications here, right? Case size, 41 millimeter. Obviously, if you like a smaller watch and you're going to like a 41 millimeter watch. Case thickness, 12 millimeter. These are all subjective. Let's talk about the real, what I call check boxes, right? What mainly makes up a watch? And that is, what is it made out of? So we have stainless steel. They don't even list that 316, but it's so common to use 316 stainless steel or surgical grade stainless steel in the watch world that most companies don't even mention it anymore, right? So we have stainless steel. Let's take a look at what we have as far as water resistance, 300 meters or 1,000 feet. I'm not going to get involved in specifications like date, hour, minute, because those are subjective. Somebody may not care if it has a date window, right? Doesn't matter that it has Arabic numbers. These are all going to be style. I don't want to mention things that are subjective, right? One can say, well, I prefer stick indices over that, so that means it's better. It's not. It's just different. What we want to look at is, what is it made out of? What's the crystal? And, does it have screw-down crown or not? That's, not really anything special. And, what kind of movement, right? So we have a stainless steel watch. We have a scratch-resistant sapphire crystal. We have a screw-down crown. We have a solid case back. And we have 300 meters of water resistance. And we have an L157 quartz movement. All right, so what do we get with an Invicta Pro Diver, or let's just say in the case I was referring to the other day, the Invicta Sea Hunter? We have 316L stainless steel for that watch build. We have a quartz movement. I don't know which one it has in there, but you can get an automatic as well. We have a screw-down crown. We have 3,300 feet of water resistance. Whether or not either of these watches can handle that, you'd have to pressure test them to find out. On both these watches, as far as the crystal is concerned, we have sapphire on the Longines, and then on the Invicta, we have flame fusion. So arguably, the Longines may have slightly better scratch resistance. But remember, the difference in scratch resistance when it comes to crystals, flame fusion did very well on the scratch test that Ben's Watch Club did. Sapphire, of course, is the most scratch resistant. But so really, the only advantage I'm seeing here with this watch is that it's got a slightly more scratch resistant crystal at the difference of about $600, depending on when you buy and where you buy. $600 price difference for exactly what? I'm just trying and hoping that the watch snob comes on here and tells me why this Longines is worth $790 and the Invicta is not even worth $150. Now, if we go off into, and this is where the watch snob will like to kind of branch off into stories. They like to tell stories. So Longines is definitely a company that's been around for a very long time, right? They've been in the watch industry for, I believe, over 200 years. I'm just going to read a little bit off, I think this is like Caliber Corner or something like that. When I'm looking at some of the pictures here of the case back off on one of their quartz watches, what I'm seeing here is exactly what I see on 99% of the quartz watches. We have the only difference, they made it black, right? And you have like this sort of nylon plastic type ring, which basically encases the movement into the watch case. And they do that because these movements are generic. They're off-the-shelf movements. That's what Invicta does. That's what a lot of micro brands do. And to the best of my knowledge, that's probably what this watch does with all their watches. The difference is a lot of times these companies will kind of make tweaks to off-the-shelf movement. So they'll have a movement that's based on ETA if it's an automatic, right? And then maybe they'll make a couple tweaks to it, or they'll just basically copy the design. Not saying that about Longines, but a lot of times you'll see that a movement is based off. So let me just go to let me go directly to their website. Now, these are considered Swiss watches, and a lot of times folks will say, oh, Invicta's lying. They're not Swiss made, and people think like the Longines are totally made in Switzerland. And that's not necessarily the case. And I want you to question some of these things. Just because a company is based out of Switzerland, right, and that they I believe they have an operating plant in Switzerland. That doesn't mean the entire watch is made in Switzerland. Remember, the designation for it to be Swiss made is very loose. And I think that brands like this get away with doing exactly what Invicta is doing, but get respect for it, is because they're hiding behind an old history. Whereas Invicta branched off. Imagine if Invicta wouldn't have started making the big giant watches, right? And just stuck with the conservative watch style, right? I feel like Invicta is an old Swiss brand. Invicta has an old heritage. They've been around for a very long time, but the company's changed hands so many times and rebranded themselves basically, right? Invicta's kind of known for the big over-the-top watches, but they still make tons of very small, very conservative-sized watches that a lot of people have grown to absolutely love, myself included. What we're talking here is quality, and the watch snob a lot of times will, and putting aside whether they have affiliates or whether they're trying to further their own sales on their own website, they will bash brands like Invictus mainly because of the way it looks, because of some of the watches they make are over the top and huge. And it's become kind of the standard in the watch world to bash on the brand. You're not fitting in with the watch snob if you're not clowning on Invicta. That's really unfortunate because they make a fantastic product, and they're doing the same thing brands like this is doing. Does Invicta have a manufacturing facility in Switzerland? No, they don't. But I would argue that if they would never have kind of branded into these so many different brands watches of Mickey Mouse and all these other themed watches they have, and the huge over the top watches, and just kept one of their plants in Switzerland like they used to be, right? And then went ahead and just did what other companies are doing, is falling under Swiss designation by making, 60% of the watch in Switzerland. Now, just to be clear, when I read about what that means, there's lots of different ways you can be considered Swiss made. Remember, when we open the back on one of these quartz watches, as shown right here on This Is Watches You Seek, it's got the same style of plastic ring that holds the movement to the case. And they do that because this movement is not made for this watch. It's a movement made for many different watches. Maybe it's something Longines actually manufactures, but I'd venture to guess that this is just like a standard quartz watch coming from overseas somewhere, and they basically have it made in a Chinese factory and then go ahead and get it designated as Swiss by either stamping it or maybe a certain assembly that might just involve putting a battery in it and putting their own brand on it, right? So it's so easy to become considered a Swiss-made watch company now that it just doesn't mean anything anymore. And a lot of these brands are hiding behind this old heritage, this old name, in order to say that they're Swiss made, and they, again, they're doing what they need to legally to fall under the term Swiss made, but they're hiding behind that when a lot of their watches are made in China or using parts made from China. Now, even when we look at a Swiss made watch, I read on here that the bracelet doesn't even have to be made in Switzerland, right? To be considered Swiss made, they can have their bracelet made in Hong Kong, have it shipped over, and then the Longines factory stamp it, and that's considered Swiss made, right? Now, I don't want to go too far in speculating here. I'm just giving you guys a little bit of a gist of what Swiss made is. And this just states here that, for instance, I'm going to read right off the website here. Again, take this with a grain of salt because I didn't write this. This is just reiterating what was written here. And it says here, Swiss made is also stamped in the visible side of my Longines case back. We all know that it's actually finished in Thailand. It appears that the case meets the 60% rule 60% rule are allowed to be stamped Swiss made. Most watches in my collection follow this pattern. So again, a lot of watches can be made. Let me see what else this guy says here. He says, I've also discovered the bracelet and straps are not considered part of the watch. The Swiss made for Swiss made calculations. That's a big part of the watch, right? When we're stating, oh, this watch is Swiss made, so much better than Invicta, when the bracelet, a huge chunk of the watch is coming from China, then the argument doesn't really hold water, right? So this says, therefore, it's possible to have a 100% Swiss made watch with a 100% Hong Kong made bracelet strap. And again, this doesn't mean it's bad. The stuff coming out of China and Hong Kong, they're good quality, right? A lot of these folks want to live in the past. If you were to look at what Swiss-made watches were 30 years ago, there was a difference. Modern machining in China was not as good. They've improved upon that in the last 30 years. And now the stuff coming out of China is incredible. That's why we have so many amazing micro brands, so many amazing brand watches out there that give you the quality that you would have had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for 30 years ago. It's just, a lot of these people are just living in the past. Swiss made, in my opinion, is meaningless. Means nothing. It only gives you sort of this peace of mind, again, in your own mind, that you're getting something of higher quality. And it's just not the case. And the more and more people like me that do, and much better channels than mine that do these high resolution photos showing fit and finish of these Chinese watches compared to luxury brand watches, we see that that's not all that they're cracked up to be. And frankly, I think it's absolutely obscene for Longines to charge $800, almost $800 for a quartz watch. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. What exactly are you paying for? Stainless steel case, crystal, sapphire, right? Quartz movement. We could find thousands of watches on AliExpress that have those exact features that don't say Longines, that are just nice quality. So why is it that the watch snob can rationalize spending $800 for a quartz watch by Longines, but not by Invicta, not by an AliExpress steel dive, Pagani design, all Duxo, all these watches have incredible quality. So why are they getting shit on? And that's because there's motivation to keep brand prices like this high, right? And if you can convince people that there's a quality difference and say enough times, just like any other lie, if you say it enough, people will start to believe it. And that's really unfortunate. I was going to read a comment here. We actually have one person in the chat here. Hopefully we get some more people on the rerun. John D, welcome. He says, because watch collecting is greater than the sum of the parts of the product, Longines is a legendary brand with archives to match. Don't think bashing any brand is fun or should be part of the hobby. I agree, man. I'm not here to bash Longines. I'm here to bash the watch snob who creates false information on the internet about brands like Invicta. And I'm just using Invicta because they get the brunt of it. But really any brand, Nubeo, Duxo, I hear it all the time. Oh, you're wasting your money. Oh, that's a crap brand. Well, why? Nobody can ever tell me why these are crap brands. And I give them the raw truth. The raw truth is, what is a watch made out of? What is the crystal? What kind of movement? And then there's little truths in there, or not little truths, little check boxes. Does it have a screw down crown? What's the water resistance like? And then we start to go off into more subjective features, right? Does it have, an automatic versus quartz, right? If we're being honest, quartz is more accurate than automatic. So one would think that quartz would always be more expensive than automatic watch. Sure, the difference in manufacturing, I get it. A lot more parts in an automatic watch. I prefer automatic myself, but that doesn't mean I just think that every quartz watch is a piece of shit, right? So again, I totally agree with you, John, that I don't like to bash any brand. If I had a Longines, I'd wear it. I would just never rationalize spending $800 at minimum for a quartz watch. When we start looking at, and why? Am I paying? Is this story time? Maybe people just want a story, and that's enough for them to say, oh, I love the story about how they started, so I'm willing to pay 4 times as much for the watch for the same quality. That's okay. That's totally okay to feel that way, and for folks to buy what they like, but they never say that. They always come back being like, oh, it's a brand with heritage. And nobody's even talking about heritage. We're talking about quality, bang for buck, what you get for your money. Nobody comes out and says, I have a Longines, I paid $800 for a quartz watch. I just love the story. I love the heritage in the watch. It's a company that's been around for 200 years. I just like what they do. I like the brand, and I like the watch, of course, so I spent the money. The quality, though, it's good, but yeah, I get it. It's no better than anything else. Right? They never do that. They never say that. They always are like, oh, the quality is amazing. And it's just not the fact. Is it a nice quality watch, a nice quality brand? Absolutely. Is it better than an Invicta Pro Diver? Maybe in certain areas, a $60 Pro Diver. Is it nicer than my Aqua Dive? Is it nicer than my Nubeo? Absolutely not. Especially when we're looking at check boxes that match. Stainless steel, sapphire crystal, automatic movement, or quartz movement. Again, where's the proof here that this watch is smoking all these more affordable watches? I'm just not seeing it, and nobody can ever really give me a solid reason. It always comes back to, heritage and heritage. It's always about heritage, and it's not. Let's look at this one. Good quality. Okay, good quality. But again, I agree, hilarious history. Good quality, but no better quality than Invicta or Aragon or Nubeo or Duxo or Seiko. Right? There's no better quality there is the thing. So you don't have to pay $800 for a quartz watch to get quality is only my point. Here's one here on Amazon for $11.55. Let's see what it says here. Maybe I should go to their website and just see rather than and again, not this is just a not even really a debate. Just I like to get people into the chat that think a little differently than me. And as long as we're respectful, nothing wrong with disagreeing with me, of course. Let me look at the master. Maybe we shouldn't go look at that. Let me look at the Conquest. Conquest GMT. Let's take a look at that one. $3,000. Okay, let's see what we get for $3,000. John just said, fair points, but I tend to speak with collectors who appreciate more than the specs, which drives their price. There are quality control differences between brands. It must be. Oh, absolutely. There are quality control differences. But with that being said, how do you explain, have you watched the video that I've referenced several times with things I Like Watches? He did a side-by-side comparison with a Rolex Submariner and I think it was a $300 San Martin, right? Homage. Everything that he put up, again, if we're just assuming that it's true, right? Which I do believe it is. All the high resolution pictures he put up show that the $300 San Martin had better fit and finishing than the Rolex. I mean, you can watch the video and judge for yourself and make your own decision on it. But based on what I saw, I see that it's legit, it's authentic. And again, I don't see, if we're talking quality control, how does that happen then? Because when I tell people, yeah, the quality control of this San Martin's better than a Rolex Submariner, they laugh at me, right? But yet when I show them the evidence, it's like the conspiracy theorists we have in this country. It's like you'll show them evidence and they're like, oh no, that didn't happen. It's like you show people things right to their face and they're just so set in their beliefs that they just will not have it. People fail to acknowledge facts is a part of the problem. And so again, I just don't really understand it. I mean, let me just look at the Hydro Quest here. I'll come back to hilarious history here. Tissot might be the best deal out there. I have a Longines from the late 60s and it still runs great. Yeah, absolutely. And that's not, I get it. Tissot's a nice brand too, but I don't think, even if we compare it to Tissot and Longines, I still don't think there's any difference. I don't think there's any difference with any of these brands. Maybe minor differences here and there, right? You pop the back open on Invicta automatic with H35 and you pop the back on a Rolex. Absolutely, right? There's going to be a difference there. There's more attention to detail with the Rolex. That movement is probably designed for that case, not using like an adapter ring that even Longines is using, right? But I mean, again, the Tissot and the statement that it still runs great, I'm sure it does, but all my watches still run great at $10 from the mall that I got when I was 18, right? I mean, all my Invictas, I have like almost 500 watches now. And granted, some are newer, some are older, but a lot of my Invictas are well over 10 years old. They all still run great. And I'm sure into the future, they'll all continue to run great. So again, you don't have to have a watch run great after, 30 years or whatever it is, late 60s, 40 years. It doesn't, you don't need to have it be a Longines or a Tissot. It can be an Invicta is my only point. And I'm just using Invicta. I mean, Pagani, Duxo, any affordable brand you choose for the most part. It can one fail? Absolutely. Can, and you just never know what you're going to get, period. I mean, that's just life. So let me just go to this, the Hydro Conquest. All right. So I know when I say it's a Submariner homage, people are going to be like, no, it's not. It's its own thing. All right, fine. But if like another brand did it, they'd be like, oh no, it's copying Rolex. All right. All right, so I'm looking at this watch. I'm see the specs here. See what they say about the movement, Allen hands. I appreciate you guys popping in here too. It's nice to get a little debate going, or not even a debate, just a little conversation. It would be intrigued. It would be John just said I would be intrigued whether the Rolex had been serviced or was unworn and new. I can easily eyeball massive quality. See, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, the Rolex was used, right? It was worn, but you just have to watch the video. This is kind of what I'm talking about. People will I wish you would have done a brand new one too, but this is where people are just like, they'll make excuses for it. Like, oh, well, that Rolex was worn, or oh no, this is a one-off. And this is what people do, right? All right. I'm not going to read the specs here. So this $3,000 Hydro Quest has a scratch-resistant sapphire crystal with several layers of anti-reflective coating, which you can get for $150 for any other brand. Movement, let's see what we got. So caliber L844. I'm not going to talk about the functions. It's an automatic. It's self-winding. It beats at 25,200 vibrations per hour with a 72-hour power reserve. Power reserve is kind of high on that, so that's kind of a nice feature. I get why that might cost a little more. Vibrations per hour, nothing special. L844 movement. Let's see what they have to say about this. All right, so here. So the L844 is based on the ETA A31.411. So I don't know, maybe you guys who might know more than me can kind of point this out. When they say based on, are they taking the ETA movement and then just tweaking a little bit? Or are they basically saying, oh, we're copying the ETA movement? So, if Invicta did that, they'd be like, they copy people's movements, but like it's okay for other brands to do that. So I guess I'm just not really sure if they're using the same movement and tweaking it. I don't know, maybe you guys can answer that question for me. John said factory quality control is what being debated. No, if a butcher were to service that are, see, again, we're making excuses for the Rolex, right? You'll just have to watch the video, okay? And he wasn't like, we're not talking about being serviced here. We didn't open the case back. I'm sure if you open the case back, the Rolex is definitely going to have more attention to detail. Sure, we're not talking about, accuracy or anything else, right? What we're just talking about is the fit and finishing of the watch, the way the watch is finished, right? Putting aside any kind of wear and tear scratches. You'll just have to watch the video and let me know what you think. You can drop me a comment to one of my other videos or on this video, come back to it. The vibe I got from that was not that this guy was not just trying to prove a point to further his own thoughts. Like it's a guy that's actually doing a real solid, like objective comparison. So you'll just have to watch it, man. I'm curious on your thoughts. Don, welcome. He's new to watches, but it seems to me after watching so many videos that people a lot of times want to buy these products, they'll hold value the most. So again, that's a misconception. People, just because you buy a Rolex watch doesn't mean it's going to hold value. Let me strike that. Will a Rolex watch hold better value than an Invicta? It depends on what you get it for, right? If you overpay for a Rolex, then if you overpay for anything due to hype, due to timing, holding value is going to be affected based on what you paid. Everything, for the most part, I don't want to overgeneralize, but most things hold value. It just depends on how much value. There are some things that don't, right? For instance, if we look at an old printer, right? When you paid $200 for a printer and they're still selling printers that do the same thing for $200, sometimes less, that printer didn't hold its value. When you're looking at watches, unless you have, let's say you have an Invicta watch, right? That's, the most generic. You pay $100 for it. You go 5 years into after wearing it, scratching it, let's say you don't wear it. Let's just say you keep it in a box. You're like, I'm going to put this $100 watch in the box. If it's a very generic watch where they're still making maybe a different model number, but let's say a black face Submariner Homage, that watch is not going to have tons of resale value. If you paid $100 for it and the going rate suddenly becomes $200, then that watch might have value. So you might have somebody saying, hey, I can get this used one. It's in great condition. It's brand new for half the price. That means a watch still has value. You might even be able to get more for it. Perfect example, I bought an Invicta. I have about 8 or 9 Invicta Octanes, Grand Octanes. I sold 2 of them. Some of the Invictas, the Grand Octanes, I paid $400 for one of them, and the lowest $138. The one for $138, I could easily slap that on eBay and get another $100 for it, right? Easily, no problem. It's mint condition, not a problem. I know this because I've done that with 2 of the other ones. I bought at a great deal, and the watch is no longer available, and somebody fell in love with it and bought it, right? Can I make thousands of dollars off it? No, absolutely not. There are those guys who have bought a Rolex from the 70s or was gifted and handed down. Rolex is a very unique brand because they've convinced people to spend thousands of dollars on stainless steel watches and gold. I get that. But you hear those stories about people who go to the Antique Roadshow and they're like, you know what this is? And the diehard collectors who have lots of money will spend the amount of money for that watch. So yes, you can make tons of money with a luxury brand, but you can make money with almost anything as long as you buy it for the right price. Of course, the bigger the price, the bigger the price and the better deal you got it for dictates how much money you're going to make, and ultimately you'll make more from that. But there are no guarantees. there's like, I think last time I checked, I think, don't quote me on this, I thought it was like 50,000 Rolex watches on eBay. All different price points. So why would somebody want to buy a 3-year-old Rolex, even if it's brand new and mint, for the same price as buying the brand newest model, right? So just to arbitrarily state that, oh, well, you can just make, not saying you're saying this, but to arbitrarily just state, oh, well, you can make money on Rolex every time. One guy told me, oh, they appreciate 5% per year. That's not true. Like, this is simply not true. It's all about supply and demand. Now, inflation does help that. Now, if Rolex is constantly inflating their price every single year, then you might have, pre-owned watches rising with that increase. But again, why would somebody want to spend, if I was spending $10,000 for a Rolex, let's say I was going to spend $12,000 for a new Rolex, and I found one on eBay for 10, I'm still going to spend $2,000 and get the brand spanking new one from the reputable AD. So I don't know. Yeah, John, watch the video. Don just said, I watched the video reference. He keeps saying it's worth spending many times over. We're not talking about what's spending. We're talking about, I don't know which video you're watching. We're talking about fit and finishing. That's why I referred you to that video. He keeps saying it's worth spending many times over the cheaper watch. To me, they look the same for the most part. I'm going the cheaper, but I'm new. Oh, so maybe, sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm misreading. Don, we're talking about the one where we're referencing the video that I'm talking about because he compared the quality, the fit and finishing of a San Martin to a Submariner. That's what the reference was. I'm not sure which one you're talking about. They spending. Yeah, well, people are going to say things all over the internet. I'm saying something, right? And so naturally, guys who are pushing the Rolex brand or pushing luxury brands, there's one guy, who's going to teach you. He's selling a book or some sort of class on how to invest in watches. He's trying to get you to invest in him. Is ultimately what it means. So, yeah, I think though, just to kind of so you understand where I'm coming from, this video is mainly about quality and bang for buck. And I can almost guarantee you that if you spend $800 on the Longines tomorrow, in a year, you're not going to get $800 back from it. There are very few brands you can do that with. And generally, they are not the more affordable brands, right? You can, if you get if the Longines is an $800 watch and you get it for, $400, you're probably going to profit a little bit if you decide to get rid of it. But I never recommend, and I'm no expert here, but I never recommend people buying watches based on whether you can get your money back for it. I think when you buy a watch, it should be a watch that speaks to you, a watch that you can picture yourself wearing, a watch that you like the way it looks, and then everything else is second to that. Everybody's going to have a different budget. Everybody's going to have, different. I don't think there's going to be a huge discrepancy in what people want from the term quality, right? Shouldn't put in quotes. Term quality, right? Quality, we're looking for, when I mentioned earlier, what makes a quality watch? The materials. Let's put aside heritage. Let's put aside the nice story we get with a brand. If you have brand A and B, and both watches are 316 stainless steel, there is no quality difference. If you have watch A and B and both have a sapphire crystal, there is no quality difference. If you have watch A and B and you have one with a flame fusion crystal and one sapphire, there is a slight difference, not a quality difference, but an advantage to the sapphire. It's going to be more scratch resistant. Not better, just more scratch resistant. But remember, the flame fusion is not scratch prone. It's just a little bit better. In the real world, it doesn't really make a difference. It makes a difference if you're going to purposely try to scratch your watch with a scratch kit. That's the difference. After that, watch A and B. Do you want a quartz movement or automatic? My dad will always take quartz because he just wants to put the battery in it and have it run for several years, right? Me, I'm more of an automatic guy. I still like quartz, but it's just a personal preference. But which one tells time better? The quartz, absolutely. The 99-cent Chinese quartz watch off AliExpress will tell time better than any Rolex ever made. So it's not about performance, right? It's just not. It's just technology. One is better. One does the job. If the sole purpose of a watch is only to tell time, the quartz is superior, right? After that, we start looking at water resistance. What does it look like? Do we give a better, are you a professional diver? That's going to kind of dictate what brands you choose. That you might want to do a little more research with what brand's pressure tester watches, right? If you're just a guy who washes his hands, hops in the hot tub once in a while, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Most of these watches are going to, unless something's wrong with the watch, and this is where quality control could come in. Remember, quality control is, a lot of folks think that affordable watches don't have quality control. Look at all the products we get coming from China. There's all of them have an element of quality control. All right, let me go back to the comments here. This is great, guys. I appreciate you guys popping in and making some comments. John D said, I'm having a hard time finding the San Martin versus Submariner video. Yeah, man, let me see if I can find it. For me, Don just said, for me, I'm saving for a Baume & Mercier, a Baume or a Tudor, probably used. Comes down to the look of the watch. Well, if it came down to the look of the watch, then you wouldn't necessarily be like saying, I want Baume or Tudor, right? Because if it came down to the look, you can get a Tudor homage that has the look for $100. So it's not really about the look for you. It's about the brand. Let me find this for Homeboy here for a second here. Give me 1 second, guys. I want to find this video. Bear with me 1 second here. It is San Martin versus Rolex, I think. Let's take he got it. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to share it with you right now, folks. All right, video coming into the chat. There you go, folks. Check it out. I think it wasn't really an eye-opening video for me, but it confirmed what I've been saying for years. And again, I don't mean that to say that Rolex sucks or anything like that. I just don't see the value, for me personally, in spending that much money on a watch. Any watch, So my buddy had a Baume & Mercier. He spent like $2,500 for it back, 20 years. And it was cool, don't get me wrong. And to this day, I'm always like, because I wasn't really into watches then. And I'm always like, oh, man, I wish I knew. I think he had the Baume. It was what it was called. And, yeah, I was always like, I thought it was great quality, right? Because from what I was used to then was like watches that weren't even 316 stainless steel. They were just very cheap watches. So like when you picked it up, I was like, ooh, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. But then years later, I picked up another, 20 years later, a stainless steel, not even 20, like 10 years later, a nice quality stainless steel affordable watch. And I was like, a big watch. And I was like, wow, this is amazing too. So, I just didn't know any better then. Don said, now you have my attention. Is there a cheaper? Yeah, man, I actually have what do I have? I have a Tudor homage by Neymar. That is, it's homaging like the raspberry bezel version they got. It's just as nice in my opinion. And it's like 100 something. Let me see if I find it for you. Sorry guys, I don't want to just be looking at videos here, but just don't bail on me yet. Let's see if we can find it. And granted, these are, yeah, so this is just oh, here it is. So granted, these videos are like, the one I'm going to share with you is not, I don't think it's in 4K, so the quality's not as good. Let me get it for you here. So I don't know which Tudor you're looking for, but, whoops. There we go. Sorry, I thought I closed the screen there. But here is the one that I have. Now the Baume, I don't know if there's any homages to the Baume Mercier. They make, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with their watches, but yeah. But here's the thing with that. Like, if you are, even if you, I don't mean to discredit what you like. So if you want the Baume because it's a Baume & Mercier, right? Whatever the reason, that's the only reason you need. You don't need me to tell you that, oh, well, you can get this watch for cheaper. Like you can, right? With at least a Tudor that's going to give you the look. But your statement was, I like the look of the watch. And that's not necessarily true, right? It could be a combination of both. You might like the look and the name. That whatever your reasoning is for wanting something, I am not telling you not to buy it, and I'm not telling you you shouldn't. You should always buy what you like and makes you happy. And I think if you just kind of and don't buy with the idea that like you need to, if you're spending so much money on a watch that your big concern is, can I sell this and get my money back? That's not, you shouldn't be buying that. You should always buy a watch based on the fact that you're going to wear it into the ground and you're never going to get rid of it. And if it lasts a lifetime, great. And if it doesn't, you like it so much that you're going to replace it eventually. That's just my opinion. But, I think a lot of people buy watches too often that they can't afford. And they always think oh, I buy a Rolex, I'm going to get my money back and make money. Not if you wear the shit out of it and scratch it up, you're not. And so are you buying it to have a safe queen? Buy it as an investment. Hey, if you want to risk your money on something like that, not you, but people in general, I'm not telling you not to. I mean, do what makes you happy. I'm just want you to be very clear that there's no guarantees in life. And people try to tell me I'm wrong. So I'm defending my position on that. If every single person made money on every single Rolex ever made, then why is not the entire world buying Rolex watches so we can just make money? I just don't think that watches are an investment. Hang on, I peek out the window for a second. It's just, I'm sure there's guys who know a lot more than me. I'm sure there's guys that make money with luxury brands, but they've learned what to buy, when to get it. Generally, I think, in my opinion, if you make money on a watch, if you're a buyer and a seller, somebody is getting sort of screwed, right? So in order for you to make money on a watch, you have to get it from somebody in a pre-owned market that's going to take a loss or make less than they could selling it themselves. A lot of times guys like that have the ability they have a big network of people. They know a lot of people. And so I think no matter what you're doing, if you have a big network of people, you could almost sell anything if you can get it for the right price, But again, when it comes to watches, I like watches of all different sizes, brands. And, I like I said, I have close to 500 watches in my collection. And, they're all nice. They really are. Are some nicer than others? Yeah, but we're kind of comparing watches that are sub $40 and comparing them to everything else. Any watch that I have that's in that, and I hate using price, but $150, $100, that Neymar I recommended here, we can compare that to my $2,000 Aqua Dive. Easy. Now, does it mean the Aqua Dive, the ETA, one has an H35, one has the ETA, I forget, 2850, I think, something like that. Some of my, Oceaniva, hands down, one of the best bang for bucks. Straight up tool watches, great specs, amazing quality, right? I think a lot of times people buy watches because maybe somebody says, hey, like when we talk about value is subjective. So somebody might, just based on the stigma a brand gets, not want it. And I don't think that's right. I think, but just because it's not right for me doesn't, buy what makes you happy. There's no point in me recommending an Invicta watch somebody who, let's say this Neymar, right? This Tudor Black Bay Homage, beautiful watch. There's no reason for a guy to say, oh, well, it's even if the quality's the same, right? Absolutely perfect, no difference. We can confirm it. Let's pretend for a second. There's no difference in the Black Bay compared to the Neymar. If somebody says, I'm just not going to get the pride that I get out of wearing the Tudor because this one says Neymar, that reason's valid. I mean, it's not my money. I'm not spending the money on the watch. So, but I just don't want that person to come back and be like, oh, no, the Tudor's better quality. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but, that's just a lot of times with people on the internet. A lot of them are affiliates and pushing their own brand, and they'll just say things that just aren't true. Let's see here. Don said, I agree with your position. I was saying it seems people buy for the resale. To me, for me, it's the look. I bought a Seiko Chrono and love it, $500. Love it just as much as the Daytona. Yeah, that's really, that's really the only reason you need. But you're mentioning that at the stance of a normal thinking human being. The other people out there who isn't trying to, persuade anybody, the other people out there will state that, oh no, it's a nice watch. I love it. $500. It's beautiful. I got this because it just shits all over the Invicta. You know, it's just the Neymar can't hang with this quality, and that would just be a lie, right? So, you know, there's nothing wrong with being like, hey, I love it. You know, it's $500. Yeah, could you have got a watch that is just as nice for $2? Absolutely, but the fact that you wanted the Seiko is all that matters, right? So that's it. Let me see if we got anybody else in here. I gotta hit the gym here. When I mean hit the gym, I mean go downstairs. Yeah, for some reason it says we have 3 people in here, and then participants, it always says 1. So I don't get it. But anyway, I just want to pop in here for about 40 minutes. I did a live stream earlier today. If you haven't checked out the video review I did on the brand new Nubeo Tourbillon Viper watch, check it out. It's badass. If I can, like I said, I enjoy these kind of conversations, these back and forths. You know, everybody in here was super respectful, and I appreciate that. And that's what I think the fun of watch collecting is, not just collecting, but sharing the watch with people, letting people discover new brands, and then also, you know, being an advocate for affordable watches. Because let's face it, there's a lot of great quality out there, and there are beautiful watches at every price point, and you just don't have, the fact is you don't have to spend $1,000 to get a wonderful quality watch. You just don't. Every brand, you have to take each watch as it comes. Every watch. And just because I'm saying that, it doesn't mean I mean that there isn't a watch that costs $1,000 that you put it under macro lens, you open up the case back, and you really nitpick the watch, that we can't say, okay, that watch is finished better. That watch is a better watch at $1,000. But they both tell time reasonably well. They all look good, in my opinion. Somebody may not like a big Invicta. I get that. But I mean, they're all really nice. And I think that no matter what your budget, your price point, you should be able to wear a watch, show it off, wear it with pride. And it's just too bad that we have a community of watch snobs that run YouTube, because they focus on shitting on other brands and focus on the big luxury brands that are, you know, the algorithm pushes that kind of stuff. It's just unfortunate, because then you get guys like Don who maybe don't have a lot of watches in their collection, and they might get duped into thinking that they have to spend $1,000 on a watch. You just really don't. So anyway, guys, good discussion. John, thank you. Don, thank you as well. I was going to read Don's last comment here. John said, good discussion. I don't know what you guys see. I've been trying to do these feeds with a program, and they always come out shitty. I can never get anything working right. So this is just through YouTube. And it seems like it just works better. I don't know if you guys can see the chat, but good discussion, he said. He just paged through the San Martin video. Watch it in its entirety. I'll do another one of these again. Maybe I'll just call it like watch discussion. I encourage you guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. This way, turn on the notification. So this way, when I do more of these discussions, you can be involved with it. And, you know, I don't claim to be an expert, but I do know, I have a pretty good idea what you get for your money with, like I said, I have almost 500 watches now. So pretty good idea. Lots of brands, tons of brands. And Don just said, thanks, brother. I appreciate the conversation, and thank you for showing me the watch. Check it out. Watch more of your vids. Glad I ran to your channel. Yeah, thanks, man. Subscribe. There's so many. I have about 1,500 videos, maybe more on here. And, you know, brands like Aqua Dive, Visser Dive watches, Neymar, Pagani, Steel Dive, Invicta, Aragon, great company as well. Citizen, Seiko. I mean, you name it. There's a lot of watches I reviewed on here. I'm just going to close on this too. John said, I have to say a number of other YouTuber channels are happy to promote and discuss affordable watches. The Urban Gentry, yes. The Mad Watch Collector, no. Mad Watch Collector, I did a video critiquing his Invicta review. He falls into that same trap of affordable watches need to be Casio or Seiko for the most part. I don't want to overgeneralize. But when he popped the Invicta picture up there, he took a little dig at it. Had to throw a little dig in there. And so that's not being honest, right? Just one more watch. Yep, absolutely. And I haven't checked out case back watches, but yeah. And Urban Gentry, I don't watch him too much because his style is more super respectful guy, very successful watch channel. I wish mine was that successful, but mine's a jumble of everything, so probably never be that way. But Mad Watch Collector, I find I'm confused at that channel is as popular as it is. But I guess people like him. I'm not insulting him. He's done extremely well. But I think if the Urban Gentry, he's more of the, you know, he's not really, I don't consider him, I'm an obsessive watch collector. I don't consider him a real watch collector because he has a few watches, but he'll get rid of watches, you know, just a different style of collecting. I shouldn't say he is a collector, but I feel like in my definition of watch collector, somebody who just keeps buying indefinitely, and it's like a sickness, you know. But I mean, collect how you like, of course. But he's more into the expensive stuff and the heritage and the story, whereas I could give two shits about the story of a company. But yes, he is a respectful dude, and I definitely respect what he does. And then again, Mad Watch Collector, I don't really care for him, but again, we're a very popular channel. A case back watch I'll check out. Yeah, man, there are collectors and enthusiasts. I get it. I feel like I'm a little of both, but I'm just not into the. I've just seen too many things with luxury brands that I'll never understand it. I really never will. But now, with that being said, one caveat to that: if I win the Powerball tomorrow, there is a Rolex that I really like. I'm never going to as a Archer luxury, but he's entertaining for some folks. Another watch snob, kind of the watch snob, the number one watch snob. What was I saying? So the Rolex. So there is and people, even Rolex fanboys would shit on this Rolex. It's called, I think it's by a company called Medusa. And so I think they customize Rolex watches. And it's called the Medusa. And the entire Rolex is encrusted with rubies. Awesome. You can't find anything else like it. It's about $19,000. Now, as a working guy, I have $19,000. More than $19,000, right? But I would never rationalize spending that. Not on that, not on a car. There's too many affordable options that will bring me more enjoyment because, like with a car, there are cars that I really love for, that are used that I am going to add to my collection someday. But for me personally, I get a different level of enjoyment knowing I didn't have to make a $600, $700 a month car payment and lose sleep at night, hoping I don't lose my job. I like to just buy it outright, And so, some folks will try to shit on me and say, oh, got this 20-year-old cars. Well, I have 20-year-old cars because I maintain them. I take care of them. And when I bought those cars, I really like those cars. So that hasn't changed. I didn't fall out of love with the cars. I love my Honda Accord that I bought in 2000 brand new. I like my Solar. I like my Jag. I like my truck. And so I will never sell those vehicles because I'm not looking to impress anybody. Yeah, I could sell all four and go get a Benz, right? And have a big car payment, get a really expensive $70,000 car. 60,000. I don't know what you can get from, but the point is I get enjoyment out of my vehicles and the pride I get knowing I customize them. They're a reflection of my personality, my tastes. I keep them running. I do the legwork in maintaining them. I save the money doing maintenance myself. And so to me, that gives me a lot more gratification. And so I think if you buy things you really like, granted, you will never want to get rid of them, which brings me again back to that Rolex. At this point in my life, I would not rationalize $19,000 on a watch. As unique and cool as that watch is, it's going to spend most of its time, like the rest of my watches do, in the safe. And so, but if I win the Powerball, then absolutely, that watch would be awesome. But that watch could very easily be an Invicta encrusted with rubies. It's not necessarily about the brand. It's just the look of the watch. So it's very unique. Brent said which model. I'm not sure if that was in regards to the Rolex. John D just said lots. Most of collectors enthusiasts go through acquisition phase of watches. Yeah, I mean some. I don't think I don't. Let me find it. I know I got to cut this loose here, cut short here, but give me 1 second. Rolex Medusa. I absolutely love this watch. It's just I don't know, man. I'm never gonna grow up. it's so blinged out. I just absolutely love it. It is. I think it's a presidential. No, it's a date just 18564. So any of you ballers out there, hey, hook Phatkat Collections up with a little gift. I mean, I'm not gonna do OnlyFans for you, but let me share the link with it. It's. I don't know. I just absolutely love this watch. It's so badass. Yeah. So that's my style right there. Now that would bring me a real level of pride rocking that to the coffee shop, Pretty damn cool. Medusa. I think Medusa Medusa must be the company that probably customizes this thing. Man, they got emerald. They got emerald. They got the sapphire. I'm on a ruby kick lately, so I just picked up this 7-carat ruby ring. Absolutely love it. So badass. Anyway, I digress. So, all right, folks, again, thank you guys for popping in. Subscribe to the channel. I can talk to you watches all day long on here. I just wish we got more folks in. Sometimes we get some haters in, which is kind of fun too. And generally, if we get people in here that just totally disagree with me, like I'm all for a discussion and there's nothing wrong with having a different opinion, but like we just don't tolerate, people, we all know there's haters out there, and generally people say negative things about other people when they're just jealous. And so we do get them in here. And so it's nice today that we had a pretty cool discussion. So again, folks, thanks again. If you think of anything down the road, drop me a comment on the video. I respond to every single comment. My email address is in there as well. Appreciate you taking time to watch, and have a fantastic evening.